Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Diamond. I'm the Intuitive Witch, and today we're going to be talking about initiation. Why does one have to be initiated? Which practices? Why is it so taboo to be initiated, or self-initiation a lot of the times? So today we're going to get into all this and let's get started. Okay, so we're going to talk about initiation into a magical practice or a certain system of a spiritual practice or a magical practice. So typically, a lot of practices, what you'll find today, that you really have to dig up and really dig deep. I'm not just talking about going based on like colonialism, going back into the Middle Ages. I'm actually talking about diving deeper into what we know as ancient history and ancient mythologies, and with those spiritual and Gnostic practices as well. So initiation, a lot of systems that you'll find are closed and they don't have open spaces, they don't have open forums, they don't have websites or information online that you can just Google rites and rituals and ceremonies. And that being said is because they want to keep that certain practice kept in the shrouds for self-preservation. Some might wonder, why does one need to have self-preservation if this is like real and legitimate? And to answer that question honestly and ethically as a practitioner is because it's quite similar to like a self-practice of you have your own. This is not a grimoire, but let's just say this is actually the Devil's Dozen 13 Craft Rites by the old one by Jim McGarry. So this is not, but I'm just saying, let's just pretend this is your grimoire, right? And you have all of the stuff that you ever known. Now, when you have people that are maybe in your family, close friends who are witches, people that could be coven members, you have no problem sharing this information with. But to the outside world, witch or non-witch, it's, my ring light just went out. Okay, great. It's very much the same thing. Like, you're not going to want just anyone to stumble across some things that you may keep sacred, things that are personal, things that have an emotional attachment, as well as a esoteric, occultic, like traditional attachment as well. And sometimes, just like with secret societies, I mean, similar ideas. You may have family traditions of witchcraft, or pass down a house, or like a house or a coven. It's passing down their traditions throughout each generation of witch who has been initiated into that coven. So it's very much on that same spectrum. Not that we're gatekeeping information, or we don't want to like help people with their stuff, or like sharing is caring, but in the same sense, it's very much similar to why the Pope is in other nations that are Coptic Christian, Orthodox Christian, blah, 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 blah. They have a lot of documents, a lot of religious texts, a lot of things that are kept secret from the public. And I mean, you have to ask yourself, why are they doing it, and why are we doing it? I know it's kind of getting off tangent a little bit, but it's kind of opening up, like, it's not out of gatekeeping, it's out of self-preservation. A lot of people as well don't respect all types of traditions, all types of rites and religious views when it comes to like witchcraft and Wicca and other, there's so many things. Like, some people are diving into Santeria Yoruba tradition, right? And you have some people who are doing a lot of like Shinto based mysticism, a lot of Eastern practices, a lot of like Germanic, Slavic, Norse traditions. You have all of the Mesoamericas in South America, how they have their own traditions when it comes to certain things. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's very much like one person could take something that's sacred to a group, and then you're watering it down to the masses and diluting it to people who are going to sit there and look at that right, practice, whatever, and they're going to sit here and they're going to demonize it most likely, or they're going, if they're like Abrahamic world religion, or they're going to not appreciate it the same or treat it as sacred as the same. And a lot of times the entities that people work with on a personal level or in a coven, a house coven that's been established for quite a long time, can tend to have very much like rigid rules of the spirit or the deity does not want that information passed around to everyone, if that makes sense. Hopefully I'm like explaining my thoughts correctly, because the last couple of days, So getting into initiation, let's talk a little bit about what's the difference between like self-initiation versus the idea of being initiated by a coven or by a high priest, a high priestess of a practice. The reason why that is so taboo and controversial, especially today, with you have a lot of people saying you don't need to be initiated in certain practices in order to practice. You don't need to be initiated to be a witch. And you don't need to be initiated to start exploring a spiritual journey. You don't need to be initiated to start exploring witchcraft. But what you will find on the journey of witchcraft, especially the more folklore traditional view of witchcraft, that's kind of making its way back around here in the United States, as well as the concept reviving in Europe as well. The fact is, you will get to a point in your path, and again, this is just things I've experienced, I've talked about amongst other witches that have went from I'm a baby witch to I'm an actual like initiate into this self-initiation at free will, and then actually being initiated into a coven, or going further into working with a deity, that ultimately you end up on this ultimate path that I'm about to talk about. So basically, what ends up happening when you're a solo practitioner, you will get to a point on your path that the horned god, the old one, the dark lord, whatever your name for this entity, to the Abrahamic man-made religious world is their Christian devil, or their Islamic devil, or their Orthodox devil. It's their character that they think hell and all this stuff. That's what they think in their mind, in their crown chakra, in their third eye to perceive, and in their throat to explain. They think that you're consorting with demons. They think and believe you're consorting with the devil. Now, that devil is not the same devil as the witch's devil. And that should be a whole new another video, but we can lightly kind of talk about it. But you will find that you will be on a path that ultimately will lead you into, you go from self-initiation into what you think witchcraft is for you, and what you are naturally drawn to energy-wise with your zodiac, with your energies, all these things that is tied and connected to you. You're going to start realizing there's another initiation door here. And if you're still tied to like old programming, especially Christian programming, in Abrahamic religion programming, you are going to kind of be freaked out and spooked out a little bit. I know I was. I was avoiding this freaking door. This initiation I was avoiding mentally, psychologically, because you know, when you're told as from a child until you're like 31. Well, I started this path when I was like 27, 28. But when you're told from whatever age to the age that you start breaking off from those programs, you are going to believe that that is truth, because it is living in your subconscious mind, and therefore it's on your conscious. It brings back conscious thoughts of, oh yeah, I shouldn't do that, or oh yeah, that's bad, or oh, this is doomed dark and evil, when it's far from that. However, going back to that, when I was in that realization of, oh my gosh, I should have done this a lot sooner, it's very much that type of liberation energy of realizing, okay, whoa. It's important because not only do all witches derive from the old one or the dark one, the dark lord, the horned one, not only do we derive from this entity for the source of power and life's source for all witches alike, as much as it flip reversal for the Christian God, for their deity that they feed off of their energies through cannibalism. Here in this path, there's no cannibalism because we're not consuming the old one. We are receiving a gift, okay? Your eyes, the veil has been lifted from your eyes. You now see both, okay? You now are aware of the world's dualities, your personal dualities, deity's dualities, everything, okay? But for this initiation, and the reason why it's so crucial for a witch or someone who identifies as a practitioner, if you don't want to be called a witch, to be honest with you, I don't got time for all those issues. Like, I'm not here to hold your hand. I'm here to explain some things. So don't get hung up on titles. But as a witch, this entity is giving you the life force and of connection. Every Sabbath, you know, every ritual, big ritual that you do, you take the witch's mark each and every time. Or that's kind of the idea, right? So this initiation, it symbolizes receiving the witch's mark that you already have. It's receiving that. It's receiving the power, the source from the black flame candle of certain rites. And like I said, it's freedom and liberation. You know, a big important thing to note is saying things in your own name could be very like powerful and very like, oh my goodness, oh, I just did that, I'm a bad witch. Ooh, I'm a bad witch. But then sometimes you can reap the karmic consequences for that stuff. And so being initiated into essentially witchcraft fully by the Dark Lord, the Dark One, the Horned God, that's essentially, you don't gotta essentially worry about a lot of these karmic debts because you're saying these things in their name, if that makes sense. Regardless if you're actively, consciously saying, in the name of the Dark Mother and the Dark God and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you don't gotta be consciously saying that because subconsciously you already done that. Do you see what I'm saying? So I don't know if I'm going off a tangent or not, but the reality is a lot of people don't know about some of these things because they solely work alone. But the big major difference, or I should say the similarity to what I just said about being a solo versus being in a coven or a system, is you will get to that same point regardless. And if you're working in a coven that's actually doing rites and ceremonies and ritual properly, y'all should be doing that every Sabbath, okay? However, being initiated into a coven, different, because it's like a sorority or fraternity or a secret society. You have their own initiation process. A lot of times, organizations such as a coven or a secret society won't take you on until after a year and a day, okay? And that's to make sure that everyone's energy melds together, the vibe is right, before they just start pouring into you. Because unfortunately, we're living in a world nowadays where people just want information out of you, and then that's fine for YouTube and TikTok. But for a coven, especially people trying to build covens, yeah, that's not cool. And that's again why information a lot of times is shrouded for a reason, because the eyes that need to see, the veil that needs to be lifted will be lifted. If it doesn't need to be, oh baby, you will stay like this. You're gonna be like those memes of like the different animals and the monkeys that are like you know what I'm saying? So, but okay, getting initiated into a closed system, that is the part that a lot of people think is taboo, and the arguments really start flaring around like, you do not gotta be initiated, and I agree and I don't agree. I agree that you do not have to pay thousands and hundreds of dollars in order to be initiated long distance or flying out to a location for a rite or ritual, just to be initiated into a system. Now, I understand that some systems adopt this practice because, one, they don't want anyone just up and getting that information. And 9 times out of 10, if a system is requiring you to pay $1,000, $2,000, $500, $700, $200, $400, 333, 444, 1111, 22, 22, 33, girl, you know what? That's on you if you pay for that. That's on you, boo, if you pay for that. But also, that's their business. That's their spiritual business. That's their contracts that they got to answer to later on, okay? But I can see the argument of, well, you know, if you pay all that money, then you can get access, kind of like a Patreon. But the other side of the argument is it's not a Patreon, because sometimes they do not grow and develop you in their spiritual system. They keep you as babies, very much similar as the Abrahamic religions of like America is a good example of Christianity. A lot of times they keep people at the church as Christian infants. Why? Because in order for you to start growing and questioning and realization and focus, you'll realize that you've been lied to, okay, in that book. But anyways, it's not about that. It's not about that. And if you're a Christian witch, I'm sorry, girl. Do you, boo. Do you. I was in the Christian system all my life, so do you, girl. Do you, girl. And now we over here repping Lucifer. I work with the dark gods and goddesses mainly, like Lilith, Baphomet. I mean, Isis is considered a dark goddess, Hecate. But anyways, kind of going off on I go off on tangents, and then I'm not that great at editing videos, so then I'm so sorry. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is I don't agree that you have to pay all this money to be initiated into a practice. Now, do I believe that those systems have been set in place out of greed, out of protection for cultural appropriation purposes, and that type of thing? Yes. I understand why there's certain systems in place. I understand why some people don't necessarily want other groups, we'll just call them groups of people to understand or know what they're doing or going on. But then again, that goes into all other issues of mental issues and so we're not even gonna get into all that. But I mainly wanted to get on here and just kind of talk about like initiation of, you can initiate yourself into any type of thing, like Taboo, but I did not pay thousands of dollars. And I did not fly to Africa to get permission, okay, to start working with the Kemetic deities. I did not get permission from Greek and Roman, Italian-esque people, okay, to start working with the Hellenic deities, such as Hera, Apollo. I did not go and spend my life savings to go ask someone from modern day Nigeria or the Benin area to be like, hey, I'm interested in getting to know about Yamoja, Yamaya, and Oshun, and oh my goddess. Why can't I not talk? Why can I not talk today? But I did not get permission to work with these, like Alegba. I did not get permission to work with them from some priest or priestess. And I know that sounds very controversial because it's like, bitch, I've been told all sorts of things of why I cannot work with deities and energies outside of cultural / whatever gatekeeping ass regulations and guidelines, okay? I don't know if y'all noticed this yet, but all humans on this planet, we're all the same race, just geographically displaced in different places, right? So we all have our own unique cultural blends and expressions of the divine. So it's almost the same concept of who died and told you that I have to start paying $3 and some change to get a bottle of water. Water is supposed to be free, boo. But that's another video, that's another topic. But anyways, my point is, you don't have to do all that. And my point saying that too is, energy is energy. So if a deity wants to work with you, the connection has to be mutual. I can't just sit here and summon something or summon someone and then be like, you gonna do this, do that. Ooh. But at the flip side, they can't be commanding you around. And no one should be telling no one that. It sounds so stupid that you tell someone you can't work with Kuan Yin because you are not from there, or you're not Buddhist, you're not Asian, just all this shit. Those people that are telling you these things in life or witchcraft, get the F away from these people, because they trying to control and manipulate shit or you. That's what I personally believe. That's just things I've run into. That's things I've seen. And I'm not the only one who feels this way about, certain things. But at the same time, I will not disrespect a practice and start speaking on things that I have no idea what I am talking about. I'm not going to be masquerading myself around here dressed up as a boker, as a shaman from, a different continent, and start, dressing up like, for example, how crazy would that be if I started practicing Tengriism, or Tingr, or whatever you want to pronounce and call that. And it's a religion from the steppes of Asia and steppes of Europe. How crazy would that look if I just got on here with their ancient, or not even ancient, but their traditional shamanic headgear and started I'm not going to be doing that. Do you see what I'm saying? So I understand that you can't disrespect certain cultures, and you can't disrespect cultures, but you cannot disrespect the systems and that their culture practice and how they express and how they commune with the divine. Because when you are in a rigid system, you need to kind of follow that system. But that does not mean you have to spend thousands of dollars in order just to get a taste of what this system truly has to offer. And the reason why I say that is because if you continue to live your life like that, then you're not really going to be living, and you're not going to be learning. Because when I first started witchcraft, and I went on my first very own guided meditation for what I didn't realize is, baby's training wheels and baby steps were essentially astral projecting in my sleep, or when I'm awake in a deeper state of gnosis, which some people call witch flight to another worldly realm while you're still awake. I was on a beach, when I went into this first state, and the sun was setting, very pretty, very purpley orange and reddish and yellow in the sky, and like the water was like this really pretty teal green kind of effect from all the things going down from it. And what I saw was this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful mermaid. She had golden bronze skin. She had beautiful locks of hair coming down, and just some of the locks were loose, so it was like wavy but curly, just like mermaid, sea salt, just that vibe of your hair off your skin. And then her turning, because her back was turning towards me once I went through that portal to get in there, and she was facing the ocean like I was facing the ocean. And then she turned to me, and she had a purple, reddish, orangish, like bralette kind of thing. And then she had the most beautiful purple with some yellow, some gold, and kind of some silverish spots with some orange and stuff. And that was her mermaid tail. Well, girl, I did not know that was Yamaya, and how I envisioned her in that moment. And that was one of my very first spirit guides that came to me when I was in a very broken, dark spot in my life for healing. Okay, now the reason why I'm saying this is because that was free. That was something, well, not free, you have to pay for internet, but that is something that was a YouTube video, that was a guided meditation. Anything could have popped up, okay? But she chose to pop up. I chose to reciprocate what I felt and saw and how we communicated telepathically. I have a statue of Yemaya Yamosha now, as well as Elegba and Oshun. And no one can sit here and tell me that I'm wrong and can't do this. And by telling someone that, you're essentially telling the divine that you practice and gatekeep, that they're wrong and that no. You know how stupid you sound if you one of those people who try to do all that gatekeeping shit? You know how stupid. Anyways. That's just my thoughts. Okay, that's just one example. Okay, that's just one example. As a child, I always loved Kemet. I always loved the deities associated with Kemet. When I was a child, I watched Prince of Egypt, and the Hebrew people were leaving Egypt. And I remember watching all of that, and I just remember saying, well, what's gonna happen with the people of Egypt? What about them? It didn't really cross my mind as of what was really going on to the children in the beginning of the movie, but that just goes to show you I could give up about the other group of people. That's how attached I was with Kemet, just across the boards. Okay, the temples, the religious system. I mean, I tell people now, if there's any type of religious system that I would follow closer than, because I'm not religious, I don't have a religion that I follow per se, but I do believe there is a divine. But my point is I would follow the Kemetic structure before I started following a lot of other structured systems. But I didn't have to pay. I have never been to Egypt. I would love to go. I've never been to Egypt. I don't need to go to Egypt in order to work with the deity. This is the cool thing about witchcraft in 2023. You know, you have the internet, but like, you don't need to be in a geographical location to honor a spirit. Is it more potent? Would it feel a little bit more? Maybe, probably, yeah. But does it have to be done? No. Now, initiation into a closed system also would mean you cannot openly just invite people. You cannot openly just give out information in that closed system, okay? So that's also a way of self-preservation when you are considered a baby member of their society or coven or as a witch. You know, it's really sad, but a lot of times people are looking for something or a system just so they can have a sense of community. But I've realized, you know, I've been doing this for about like 4 or so years now, and it's like I wasn't ready to be in a coven or a system per se, because there was a lot of things that was going on mentally, socially, physically, and internally within myself of it would not have been a good thing. And a lot of times witches will be in a practice or a spiritual practice by themselves for many years until they realize maybe a coven would benefit them at that time in their life, or maybe they need more of a rigid structure. Maybe they need more of a religious structure behind a group or a community. Because I know sometimes it could be a little lonely on this path. But anyways, oh my gosh, we're rambling into other things, other video topics, not really staying on the same topic. But as far as initiations, don't get scammed. That's all I'm saying. There's a lot of people out there that claim they know what they're doing, claim they know spiritual practice, truth, law, and then they take a bunch of money from people, and then you're still in the same development that you were X amount of years ago. And this is just a rule of thumb so you don't get scammed. If you're gonna spend money and drop money for any type of thing, whether it's a course online, witchcraft, or non-witchcraft, this is just across the board. If you're going to spend money for a course, any type of training, any type of information, and you cannot apply that information, training, and see results within a year or so time frame, get out of that institution or get out of that group and stop spending your money in that group, period. Because you're getting scammed at that point. Do you see what I'm saying? Anyways, well, I hope this wasn't just a bunch of rambling and word salad, but I want y'all to be safe and know that there are different levels and different ways to be initiated into a system. You have self-initiation. You could say, I am a witch. This is what my practices are. Along with self-initiation, what are your commandments? What are your new morals? What are your new ethics of your craft? Things like that to think of. Getting initiated into a system, whether it's really closed systems really that we're talking about here, but getting initiated into a closed system, is that right for you? Are you willing to pay money just to be a part of a community or to possibly learn some things in some of these communities? And initiation through a deity or a spirit. Are you ready or willing to follow what this spirit, energy, deity has to offer and to teach you, with the understanding of, not really, being so public unless they want you to with that information. It's very much about free will meets consent. Okay? All right, so I hope this helped you guys kind of see the differences in initiation when it comes to spirituality and witchcraft, and I will see you in the next one. All right, good. Don't forget, like this video. You want to comment, engagement, and subscribe. Help me with the algorithm, and I'll help you with new content. All right, I'll see you in the next one.